Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you are joining us this morning. Welcome to Grace Chapel's online campus. My name is Bronico, and I get to serve as our interim online campus pastor. And I'm very happy to be with you this morning, whether you're joining us at home, maybe you're on the treadmill, or even for those of you in your car, just make sure you're looking at the road. I'm so glad that you are here this morning. Lastly, we're continuing in our sermon series, Questions Everyone Asks, all about what questions people have been asking for about as long as anyone can remember. And so last week we heard from Pastor Ruthie on the question, who am I? This week we will hear from Pastor Jeanette about the question, why am I here? All of us have asked ourselves this question. I personally find myself asking it the most at Target or Trader Joe's. Why am I here? What did I come here to get? But in all seriousness, I look forward to the word that Pastor Jeanette will bring us this morning. And my hope is that wherever you are in your faith, that through the words, through worship, through our service today, that God will bring you a fresh message about why we are here and what we can do with that. So would you join me as I pray for our service today? God, I want to thank you for everyone joining us online this morning, wherever they are at. I pray that you would meet us as we ask the question, why am I here? God, the question of purpose has been something that humans have been asking themselves for a long time, and our relationship with you is directly intertwined with that question. So God, would you bring us fresh answers about who we are, why we are here, and how we can connect to the creator of our universe, to the one who has made us, who sustains us, and who lifts us up. God, would you meet us afresh this morning and deliver us a new message about why we are here and what we can do with that? All this I ask in Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Oh, you are God, and we lift you up. We'll keep singing, we'll keep praising, and we won't stop giving all we got, 'cause you're worthy of all glory. And oh, there is no other, you are forever, Lord over all. There's nobody like you, no one beside you. To you, let endless praise resound every night and day, and with no delay, let endless praise resound. Oh, you are God, and we lift you up. We'll keep singing, we'll keep praising, and we won't stop giving all we got, 'cause you're worthy of all glory. And oh, there is no other, you are forever, Lord over all. There's nobody like you, and no one beside you. To you, let endless praise resound every night and day, and with no delay, let endless praise resound. To you, let endless praise resound every night and day, and with no delay, let endless praise resound. We lift you up, up, up. We're giving you our love, 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 for everything you've done, done, done. Oh, we give you all the praise. We lift you up, up, up. Oh, we're giving you a love, 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 for everything you've done. praise to you. Let endless praise resound every night and day, and with no delay. Let endless praise resound to you. Let endless praise resound every night and day, and with no delay. Let endless praise resound to you.
Have you ever had times when you've been a little more reflective about life than usual? Well, I want to share with you two recent instances from my own life when I've had the opportunity to be a bit more reflective. The first was when my younger and only brother passed away suddenly a year and a half ago. I was in shock. He went to the ER reluctantly. They kept finding more and more things unwell in him. He actually never left the hospital, and he passed away within 2.5 weeks. To be honest, I was really mad at him for going so quickly and being so opposed to Western medicine. If he had only gotten a conventional chest x-ray, the docs may have found the slow-growing tumor in his thymus. And then, honestly, I was angry at myself for not sharing more meaningfully about Jesus with him lots earlier and more often. I tried to let my life speak, but on reflection, words may have helped as well. But I had time as well to reflect on our growing up years in Braintree, Massachusetts, when it really was just a sleepy bedroom suburb in the South Shore. Do you know that the two Yeps, my brother and I, and another Chinese student, we were the only Asians in a high school of 2,500 students? Where were you, DEI, in my adolescence when I really needed you? Well, at this time of crisis in our family, I was reflective. Well, the second opportunity I had to be reflective occurred this past June. Grace Chapel graciously gave me a sabbatical. And for the first 2 weeks, I went on a walking spiritual pilgrimage through Scotland and Northumbria, England. Our pilgrim group of 14 walked about 60 miles in 6 days, and we also practiced Celtic spiritual disciplines en route. The beauty of the landscape, the accompaniment of new and old friends, plus the opportunities to be quiet, to listen, and to reflect were all gifts of God to my body, to my soul, and to my spirit. I came back super grateful and able to say, the Lord met me. The sabbatical was another opportunity to pause and reflect on my life. Well, how about you? When you slow down enough, or when circumstances don't give you another option, or even when you are facing times of despair, have you asked yourself, why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? When you've asked those questions, how have you answered them? Pastor Ruthie kicked off the series last week by tackling one of the big questions people ask. Who am I? What's my identity? She helped us think about being created in God's image, that we are made for relationships, and that we are His beloved sons and daughters. And this week's big question is, why am I here? What's the meaning and purpose of my life? According to some of the articles I read to prepare for this sermon, 3/4 of the people around the globe think about this very question. 57% of Americans say that they wonder how they can find more meaning or purpose in their life at least monthly. This question, it comes in various forms, but it's certainly one of the big questions we ask in life. Despite how advanced we become scientifically, technologically, socioeconomically, or politically, people continue to be looking for meaning that go beyond human institutions and scientific discoveries. Being created in God's image means we think and ask questions. We are made to live meaningfully, and we yearn for more. The renowned Orthodox rabbi and scholar, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, observed, "Science tells us how, but not why. Technology gives us power, but cannot guide us as to how to use that power. The market gives us choices, but leaves us uninstructed as to how to make those choices. And the liberal democratic state gives us freedom to live as we choose, but refuses on principle to guide us as to how we choose." Well, reading that, I want to say, thanks, Rabbi Sacks. You've told us that science, technology, business, and politics can't answer today's big question. So what's the answer? Well, if you're someone who likes to know the end of the story, then today's sermon is for you. Because I'm going to answer the big question first. Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? I suggest, drum roll, we are to glorify God by loving people, joining in his mission, and becoming more like him. The 17th century Presbyterians wrote in the Westminster Shorter Catechism, "The chief end of man or humanity is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever." But before you get back to your phones and start scrolling again, I like to help us better understand what it means to glorify God by knowing him, becoming like Christ, and what it means to love people and join in his mission in the various stages of life. I'd like us to look at Moses, the Old Testament leader of the people of Israel, who had an opportunity to address these questions himself. I want us to look at him so we can learn from his example. My premise today is that glorifying God and enjoying him forever helps anyone who is following Jesus answer today's big question. How we discover and live into why I am here question, the specifics and the details can be pursued in many splendid, creative, beautiful, and life stage appropriate ways. There's not one path to pursue or a spiritual trick to help us answer the why I am here question. God doesn't offer us a personalized life map full of specifics tailored to me, telling me what I'm going to study after high school, what college I'll be attending, who I will marry, if I marry, what job I'm going to have, or how many zeros will come before the decimal point in my salary. No, I'm sorry. No personalized life map, not even if you're a super spiritual Christian, and not even if you volunteer at Grace Chapel 40 hours a week. Rather, what God offers us is an invitation to go on a journey with him. God is our companion, just like I had 14 hiking companions in Scotland. God is our companion. He wants to walk with us through each day and in each and every stage of our life. Today and every day, he invites us to get to know him better through Bible study and prayer, to reflect on his character, to become more like him so we can love others and join in his mission to make his name known to all peoples of the earth. In short, God offers us a real, vibrant, and vital relationship with himself. Isn't this so much better than even a personalized map? Well, maybe you can think of it this way. The overarching purpose of life, answering the why I am here question, is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. This might be analogous a little bit to being physically fit. You need to incorporate regular physical activity, have a balanced diet, and other health habits that support overall well-being. But when you are physically fit, your health and your energy can improve, you're stronger, your bones and your muscles work, and all this can also help your mental health. Now, true confessions. I got that last paragraph from ChatGPT. I don't have a gym membership, and walking my dog a few miles each day is my gym. But friends, you don't need me to tell you that our world is hurting and broken. You don't need me to tell you that many of our friends in our neighborhood are happily sleeping in this morning, or They're living their lives as if God doesn't matter. Our answer to the question, why am I here and what's the purpose of life, has lots to do with the way that we do life together, in community, within our church, and outside our doors, to a watching and waiting world desperately in need of Jesus' love and forgiveness. There's lots of ways to ask, why am I here? And these questions surface in different forms through different life stages. So for our students, you may be asking, what am I going to do when I grow up? Or what's going to be my major? What shall I pursue? What will my career be? Or if you've already graduated, should I go to grad school? Should I work for a while? Do I move back to the dreaded basement of mom and dad? Well, my folks were immigrants from southern China. Ba came to know Jesus through retired China missionaries, and Ma immigrated later as a World War II war bride. She came to faith through the ministry of Tremont Temple in downtown Boston. Growing up, I knew that the best thing I could become to really please my mother and father especially was to become a missionary doctor. Missionary doctor, my daughter. Obviously, I ended up disappointing that career ambition she had for me. This Asian American, I really suck at math and I dislike the sciences. Hence a career working with people. And the world is rejoicing that I did not go into healthcare. But students, figuring out what you want to study or pursue later in life is a full-time job, and it's your full-time job now. I encourage you, take different classes, explore your gifts and passions, figure out what you like, what you find fun and enjoyable, and also pay attention to the things and subject matters and situations that don't seem to fit you. In college, I had a summer internship with an immigration lawyer in Boston. Well, it didn't take too long for me to find out that this future job would not be for me. I was so bored, and I was so bad at looking up court cases for the attorney. When you're a student, eliminating options as well as affirming strengths and interests can be all part of discovering life's purpose for your life. Well, we find out that Moses had to go on a similar journey to discover what he wanted to be and do when he grew up. And like many of us, Moses' history was complicated. His life was spared when he was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, and he was destined to be raised as a prince. His birth mother was hired to be his nursemaid, and in those early years, she raised him as a Hebrew boy. When Moses joined the royal court as a bicultural prince, he knew who he was, both as a Hebrew and as an Egyptian. For those of us who know what it's like to have a foot in one or more worlds, where the culture at home is not like the dominant culture at school or at work, Moses is a role model for us. I suspect he knew very well what it was like to feel the tug of both his Hebrew and his Egyptian cultures. In fact, in Exodus 2, verses 11 through 15, we read the story of how he defended one of his fellow Hebrews from an Egyptian beating, and he ended up killing that Egyptian. The next day, he saw two Hebrews fighting, and he tried to break up the fight. And one of them said to him, Who appointed you to be our prince and our judge? Are you going to kill me as you killed that Egyptian yesterday? The scriptures go on and says that Moses was afraid, thinking, Everyone knows what I did. And sure enough, Pharaoh heard that what had happened. He tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in the land of Midian. Moses was outed. He killed a man and people knew it. Another sting for him was that his own people, the Hebrews, didn't approve of his action and didn't accept him as their leader. What a shock. He was only trying to help them. But when he realized that the Pharaoh wanted his head, he took off and he fled into Midian, entering into a time of self-imposed exile. It was in Midian, in the quiet of the desert, that God met Moses and continued the deep but critical work of character formation. For the young adults in the early stages of your work lives, you may be wondering, is this what I got my degree for? Is this all there is? Should I switch companies or fields? Maybe drive DoorDash? Except one of those texted to me job offers that pay $500 a day for 2 hours of work? The big question, why am I here, may feel a bit more serious or weighty in our young adult years. You may have loan debt to pay off. You may be seeing someone seriously, or you may be wishing that you were able to swipe to the right and find the right guy or gal. You may be discovering that the career that you had planned for and worked for is actually not really what you had hoped. What does it mean to glorify God and enjoy Him forever in this life stage? Well, David Brooks, a New York Times columnist, has some interesting things to say about two sets of virtues. He calls them resume and eulogy virtues. Resume virtues are the skills one brings to the marketplace. They contribute to our external success and they build on our strengths. Eulogy virtues, on the other hand, are the deeper ones that are spoken of at one's funeral. They're the ethical, spiritual, and true parts of our being. They exist at our very core. So I'm sorry if this may sound a bit macabre, but one day folks will gather at your funeral and they're going to gather at mine. And at that gathering, would you like them to say, you know, he was the youngest person ever to make it to senior vice president at XYZ company, and he had a lot of frequent flyer miles? Or would you prefer them to say, she was kind and loved God and her family. She always made time for people and the things that mattered to her? I've heard so many poignant remembrances of people who have preceded me to heaven here at Grace Chapel. Sometimes I don't know the person who passed away very well, but after hearing the stories of how they loved and lived, cared for their grandkids, or could be counted on for a project or to bring humor to something, or even how they faced a debilitating disease with courage and hope, I leave those services. Honestly, I really look forward to meeting them one day in heaven. These folk have lived rich and meaningful lives. They've made a difference in the world. Now, we would all say that eulogy virtues are ultimately more important than resume ones. But our culture and our educational system spend more time teaching the skills and strategies you need for career success than the qualities you need to build your inner character. As we start our journeys of life as students and young adults, developing and building our skills to bring to our marriages and families and the ones that we will share the marketplace jobs with, this is the right pursuit in this life stage. But regardless of what life stage we're in, we can still be developing eulogy virtues, which are the virtues that come out of becoming more like Christ in our character, in our actions. The scriptures talk about these kind of eulogy values. For example, we are told to lose our life to gain it. We're encouraged to think of others more highly than ourselves. We're asked to do what is right, to love mercy and to walk humbly with our God, to love our neighbors as ourselves, to forgive as God has forgiven us, to welcome the stranger and sojourner in our land. We care for the least among us when we are Christ followers, because we know that we all have fallen short of God's glory, and we thank and worship God for His free gift of forgiveness and reconciliation with Him. When we desire to become more like Christ in our character and in our actions, our lives change. People notice. One of my friends became a Christian later in life. It was hard for his family to accept his newfound love of Jesus, and they were quite vociferous in expressing their dismay that he had converted to the dark side. They feared that he had become a stereotypical Christian, that he would no longer think deeply, and that he would obviously embrace certain worldviews that they opposed. At one point, his adult daughter stepped into the family fray and asked, "Don't you guys like how much Dad has changed? He's kinder, he's gentler, he's a better version of himself." And you know what? The family had to agree. There was an inward change that resulted in a difference in his outward behavior. The daughter then said to the family, then lay off dad for a while and enjoy being with him, this new and improved version. It's a good thing. Well, one last thought about Christian character formation. Becoming more like Jesus is hard work. It takes a lifetime, and it's a culmination of many small decisions that eventually add up and change us. Who we are when no one is looking is the internal character stuff I'm talking about. Is who I am at home or when I'm alone in my thoughts the same person as I present to the outside world at school, at work, at church, on my sports team, at Red Sox games, at the PTA, or while I'm waiting out with the checkout line in the market basket? My challenge to you and to me today is to take off our masks. Let's become more integrated people and let the inside Jeanette match the Jeanette you meet on the street when I'm a civilian and I'm not wearing my pastor name tag. Whether we're here in church, outside in the world, and most importantly, when we are with those we love and live with, let's be the same person, looking more and more like Jesus. This is how we value and develop what matters most as we glorify God and enjoy Him forever. So next, let's address the people in the room who are midlife or middle age. We still ask the question, why am I here? But it may become, am I happy with what I've done with my life thus far? It's likely that you're a bit further along in life. You may be married, are or have raised your kids. You've got a home, cars, a stable job, and you may even be able to take nice vacations. But maybe there's a nagging sense of, is this all there is? You know, this is the famous midlife crisis time of self-reflection and emotional turbulence. David Brooks, our columnist, suggested that it is at midlife when it's appropriate to begin to pursue the virtue that are most meaningful to us. It's almost as if there's a switch that turns on internally to begin to really examine how and if I'm investing myself in the things that really matter to me. You begin to know that time is becoming limited. Is what I'm doing and living for counting? Does it have lasting kingdom value? At this point in time, this is when some people are able to retire early and they pursue other graduate degrees or switch careers. Others may choose to move away to rural Vermont, say, and live off the grid. And if that's you, may I come visit, please? You may be gaining an increasing clarity about you want to give yourself to. You may want to make a difference in the world. I've met folks who've decided to learn a language and a new culture to pursue a missionary calling in their 50s and 60s. In fact, someone in our Watertown congregation gave up a prestigious academic position in one of the top universities in Boston to join the Peace Corps. And on most days, she's loving it. Well, eventually, in our later life stage, in retirement and beyond, pursuing eulogy virtue becomes what matters. The what am I here for question morphs into what do I want to be known for? What will I be remembered about? What changes can I make now to invest in things that will last? You probably have made it to the top of the ladder. And if you haven't, hopefully you've made peace with the fact that you ain't going to get up there now. This is the time of life when we can walk into the next stage of life, when we can move from activities focused on ourselves to activities focused on others. This is where you can mentor and serve others, connecting relationally to other generations, offering the gift of listening and perspective when you're invited to do so. Frederick Buechner, an American writer and theologian, wrote, "The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet." Let me repeat that. The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. What an amazing thing when there's a confluence and a congruence of those ideas. Well, let's go back to Moses' life. He had a privileged youth as an Egyptian prince. He made a bad early life mistake and murdered someone, which resulted in a quick exit out of Egypt. But in the desert, he grew sensitively aware of God's presence and power. Exodus 3 records his encounter with God at the burning bush. There he learned to hear God's voice, and he is called by name, Moses, Moses. He experiences God's greatness and his holiness when he's told not to come any closer and to take off his sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. And amazingly, God directly speaks to him and sends him back to Egypt to lead the people out of Egypt and into the promised land. Moses still had a lot of things to learn about leadership and about himself. He had many ups and downs with his self-confidence and obedience, but through it all, he had opportunities to learn and to express faith in the God who is able to save, deliver, and provide. So let's conclude by going back to the original big question. Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? I've suggested that the meta answer to this question is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. What does it mean to glorify God? It includes knowing and loving him, becoming like Christ, loving all people, joining in his mission to make his name known to the nations. We get to enjoy the benefits of our salvation, the good gifts of relationships, of beauty and creation in the arts, and yes, through good food, our pets, our gardens, and fun hobbies. That's what it means to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. Each life stage asks the question of life purpose distinctly, but underneath all these versions of this question, we're invited to have our character transformed to look more like Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. For a few decades, I sat with college students in all kinds of student unions and dorm rooms and coffee shops. And at various points, as I would get to know someone, they would ask the big question, why am I here? What's God's will for my life? And almost always, the conversation would turn to this portion of scripture in the Old Testament, where we read how the prophet Jeremiah wrote a message of hope and assurance to his people in exile in Babylon. For I know, he wrote, the plans I have for you. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. In those days when you pray, I'm going to listen. If you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. So brothers and sisters, as we answer the question about purpose and meaning in our life, let's look to Jesus and ask and pray and listen for his response, because he loves you so much that he wants to do that for you. Amen.
We worship the God who was. We worship the God who is. We worship the God who evermore will be. He opened the prison doors. He parted the raging seas. My God, he holds the victory. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today, and we won't be quiet. We're gonna shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place, and we won't be quiet. We're gonna shout out your praise. Whoa, 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 whoa. We sing to the God who heals. We sing to the God who saves. We sing to the God who always makes a way. 'Cause he hung up on that cross, then he rose up from that grave. my God, still rolling stones away. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We're gonna shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. And we won't be quiet. We're gonna shout out your praise. We were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. And we were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. Whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, oh, oh. We shout out your praise, oh. Whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, oh, oh.
Well, thank you for joining us at our ASL service. I want to thank Pastor Jeanette for bringing us that word, and my hope is that you found it helpful and that God met you this morning. Throughout your week, receive this benediction. May you not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And may you then test and approve of God's pleasing and perfect will. Go in peace.